Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are going to have a conversation around the COVID-19 virus and specifically the vaccine. And I have brought on or obtained a guest expert that's going to talk to us about that tonight. I want you to do me a favor and share this broadcast with all of your followers. Let's try to get as many people in here, especially my African American brothers and sisters. I need you to be in here so that you can hear the expert from our community who has studied this type of thing, so that you can get a real good knowledge. I don't think you should be getting your medical advice from Facebook or Wikipedia or from some of these people who got their degrees from Facebook. You ought to get it from somebody who has really studied this information, is from our own community, that can tell us what we need to know about this. So go ahead, share this broadcast. If you have questions, go ahead and put those into the box link. We will answer those. We have some questions already prepared that you already sent in, but that's going to be that. So without further ado, I'm going to bring over my guest, Dr. Kristy McDowell. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Awesome. Thank you for joining. I'm so glad that you have taken the opportunity. We really appreciate it here at the Word Church. You're one of our favorite guests that we love to see you. I'm sure my members have reached out to you, and we just love to have you come.
Yes.
Dr. McDowell, just go ahead and share just a little bit about your credentials, what you studied, so that the people can know who they're dealing with on tonight.
Okay, so I am a molecular biologist. I have my doctorate degree, my PhD in microbiology and immunology, and my areas of study have been cancer research, HIV, other infectious diseases, and so I've also studied at the National Cancer Institute. I've studied and worked at the Food and Drug Administration. And I also currently teach at Northern Virginia Community College. So I teach biology, microbiology, genetics, all of those wonderful subjects, which I had the pleasure of having you in my class. And this is stuff that I teach every day to my students. And during this pandemic, I have also done some reading and to study up on this virus. And so I'm so happy to be here with you guys to share the knowledge that I have.
Also, what I heard you say is that you study infectious diseases and immunology.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful! Yes. So this is really your sphere of expertise.
Yes.
Awesome. That's great. So I've heard you use the term, and through your class, I've heard you say that you are a molecular biologist. What does that mean in dumb people's terms like me?
Not dumb. Just family terms.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
Family terms means that molecular biologists, we study some of the smallest molecules in the cell, right? And primarily DNA, RNA, proteins, and other small molecules that exist within the cell and work within the cell to make our bodies function and our parts function. So we look at some of the most micro molecules that exist within a cell.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get into it just one moment, but I do want you to just talk about it because I'm going to put in a little plug for you as well. You have a nonprofit called Baby Scientists. Could you just tell us a little bit about that so that the people here can get that knowledge? And a lot of the people listening to us or viewing us are from the Ashburn area, and Dr. McDowell may be bringing her camp to our actual facility. So we want to get that information out there in case any of your children would like to join that camp. It's going to be a STEM camp. She'll talk about that a little bit. So if you want to bring your child to that camp, and those of you that are members of the Word Church, because Dr. McDowell is a part of our family, we'll have some grants for you from the Word Church so that you can get your children in that this summer. So go ahead and talk about your camp and your organization.
Yes, baby scientist is my heart, it's my passion. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We are a science education nonprofit, and I created this nonprofit about created it for it to be. It's always existed in my mind and in my heart, but it came to existence back in 2018, and our purpose is to go out into the communities. Communities of color, underserved communities, low socioeconomic communities, and to spread STEM, to spread science, to introduce science to children, to enhance their scientific knowledge that they already have. And we do this through hands-on scientific activities. And so we go into the communities, community centers, churches, homeless shelters, and we perform activities with the children. And my goal and purpose with this is to show children, for one, that there are scientists of color that look like them, and to give them the hope, the aspiration, and inspiration that they too can be a scientist one day, whether it be in the science that I do, molecular biology, whether it's engineering, whether it's computer science, whatever their heart's desires that they learn about and seek out, that they can do. And I design the experiments that the children do so that they can accomplish them, so that they can see a result and feel that exhilaration from being successful, because I feel as though them going through that process, something that they've never done before or seen before, but having success will then trickle down into their educational journey, and hopefully have them to aspire to be a scientist one day. And currently I have worked with Prince George's County in Maryland. I have done some workshops in Virginia. And like you said, I am going to start my own baby scientist camps. And we will be out in the Ashburn, Loudoun area, thanks to you. And I am really looking forward to that. We have some exciting experiments designed. And, the ages that I gear towards are all of the ages, actually, pre-K through high school. And I have taught children, I have held workshops with children as small as 1.5, 2 years old. Wow. And they get it, and that light bulb goes off in their heads, and they love it. And I love to see it. And I love providing that to the children. And some of these experiments that I'm going to do in my camps are experiments that we do at the college level. I just modify it somewhat for the children in the camps, and it's going to be a great experience for them to have and take back to their schools. And, and so it's going to embolden them when they go back to their classrooms, be like, hey, I know this stuff. I've done this, and so it just gives them a confidence that they can't get anywhere else, Mm-hmm. Because once you've done it, once you've accomplished it, can no one take it away from you? Absolutely. And that is something that I am adamant about providing to the children in our community.
Awesome. So there you have it. Look right down there on the screen is the babyscientistcamps.org. Go to that, spread that out, retweet it, re-Instagram it, whatever you all do, post it so we can get that camp filled this summer. Especially, again, we need to see our people in science, technology, and what's the other ones? Science, technology, engineering, and math. All right, wonderful. Yes. So we need to see all of our people there. So, Dr. McDowell, I'm going to let you take it over and talk to us. You're going to give us a little mini lesson, I believe, and then I'll come back and I'll start firing some questions at you. I'll go ahead and continue. Okay. You all continue to put it in the chat, and I'll go through them once Dr. McDowell concludes her presentation for us.
All right, beautiful. I just wanted to give a brief, I'm going to try to be brief, overview about the coronavirus and the vaccines and how they work. So, first of all, I want to give you guys a lesson in molecular biology. And so here I have it drawn. Yeah, okay, so everyone can see. And it's called the central dogma of molecular biology. Okay, and so the central dogma of molecular biology is that we have DNA, and we all have DNA in our cells. And from DNA, we are able to make mRNA. And from mRNA, we are able to make protein. Now, DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. And mRNA, which has been in the news a lot of late, and I'm sure you guys have heard about, it's called messenger RNA. That's what the M stands for, messenger. And what do messengers do? They deliver a message. And so the message that is delivered allows the cell to create protein. Now, this process is a process that occurs in the cells, and it occurs in our cells every day, every second of the day, because this central dogma from going from DNA to proteins is necessary for our cells to grow, for cellular growth, for cellular reproduction. And so the reason why I wanted to introduce mRNA, messenger mRNA, where RNA stands for ribonucleic acid, is because some of the vaccines that you guys have heard about, the Moderna, the Pfizer vaccine, they have mRNA. And they are made with mRNA. And so I want you to know that mRNA is not a foreign substance. It's not something to be afraid of. And because it is something that our bodies and our cells make on a daily basis. And within our DNA, we have genes, right? Genes exist in our DNA. And those are the things that we as humans pass along to our children. And those are the things, not only do we pass them along, but they are what makes us who we are. They makes our nose look the way it looks, our ears, our mouths, our whole body. Genes are expressed. And the only way genes can be expressed is if they are created into a protein. Okay. Now, let's go back to mRNA. mRNA is a messenger. And so the vaccines that have mRNA, they create a message. They create a message that creates a protein that identifies the coronavirus, right? So our bodies, our immune system naturally makes antibodies. We have a protection within our bodies, our immune system. You've heard of your white blood cells and things of that nature. Well, our white blood cells have the ability to make antibodies, and antibodies are created when a foreign pathogen enters our body through our nose, our mouth, our eyes, however it enters. And the body recognizes and say, hey, this doesn't belong here. This needs to get out. So then the body goes through a lot of processes and signal transduction pathways, and it produces antibodies and against this foreign pathogen, right? And so this once the antibodies are created, they attack that pathogen and get rid of it. It rids it from our bodies. And so that's why, a cold or something like that usually lasts like a week, because it takes that amount of time for our bodies to recognize the foreign agent, get rid of it, and get our bodies back to normal. Okay. And so the coronavirus, I've drawn a little coronavirus right here. The outside of this virus is made up of protein. Okay. And so what the vaccines have in them are mRNA that will make a protein that mimics the coronavirus. Okay. And so when the vaccine is enters our body, the mRNA is then makes a protein. That protein then is able to our bodies are able to make an antibody with that protein, because that protein that the vaccine makes is considered foreign. Okay. And so the body wants to get rid of it. So it will make antibodies against the protein from the vaccine. Okay. And so when those antibodies are made, they will then recognize the coronavirus, bind to it, the coronavirus, And this is kind of like a signal to our bodies to say, hey, this does not belong here. Let's get rid of it. So when our antibodies binds the coronavirus, then that sends a signal to our cells and the other immune systems cells in our bodies that, hey, let's get rid of this coronavirus. So that is the I hope that makes sense. It was a lot, I know, but the mRNA in the vaccine creates a protein. Our body recognizes that protein as a foreign pathogen. Our body then makes antibodies against that protein, which then will go on to be able to recognize the coronavirus and then rid the coronavirus from our bodies. Okay. And the good thing about our bodies is that it's very specific and very precise. And so the antibodies that are created, not only these antibodies for coronavirus, but any antibody that our body makes, they're able to keep it for a considerable amount of time. And so that's one thing that's questioned, today, is how long will these antibodies stay in our bodies and be able to protect us from coronavirus? But because this is new and novel, they're still doing the research on it, and they really don't know. But it'll be long enough to get us through this pandemic and through next year. So that's what I do know. So I hope that was helpful to you guys, and you were able to understand it a little bit.
Awesome. So from if I can remember from biology 101 and biology 202, the binding and all that type of stuff. So I want you to talk a little bit about, if I understand correctly, when we get the flu vaccine, they are injecting some of the flu into us to create some reaction. But with this coronavirus vaccine, they are sending messenger RNA, which we already have in our body, correct?
Yes.
And then they're kind of training it to do something.
Right. Okay. Right. So the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine is created with mRNA. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is created with an attenuated virus. What attenuated is, it's a dead virus, right? Non-infectious. And so what they did was, in the Johnson & Johnson, they took a cold virus that they already had, and they recreated it to mimic the coronavirus. Okay. So that when the Johnson & Johnson vaccine enters our bodies, our bodies recognize it as foreign. It then, and one thing that the body does is, like, it takes a piece of that foreign pathogen. It takes a piece of it and integrates it into the antibody. And so that's how the antibody is able to recognize that pathogen when it comes in contact with it. So the body is slick. It's like, I'm gonna hold on to this little piece till I see you, but again, and when I see you, I'm gonna get you. Right. Okay. So that's what it does. And so they use a dead virus to create antibodies for us as a protection. Whereas Moderna and Pfizer, they inject all of it's an injection. They inject the mRNA, and the mRNA then goes on to be made into a protein, which our body recognizes as foreign. Our body takes a piece of that little protein, makes an antibody, and then that's what recognizes the coronavirus. Awesome. So it's two modes of action. And yes, normal flu viruses are made with dead viruses, attenuated viruses. And so, and one question is that, well, we get flu vaccines every year. Are we going to need to get the coronavirus vaccine every year? And that's something that still needs to be researched and figured out. But it's because, and the reason why you have to get the flu virus every year is because viruses are some of the most intelligent organisms that exist. And I always say that because they are able to mutate and modify themselves to evade drugs. They say, oh, you got this? Okay, well, I'm going to change up so that drug cannot affect me anymore, and I'm going to slide by. Right. So that's what they call variants. Right. And so the fact that we have multiple coronavirus variants in existence right now is nothing to be alarmed about, because it is expected, because that is what viruses do. Every virus that exists does that, that they are able to mutate and recreate themselves in some form or fashion to evade, you know, therapeutics in some way. But the thing about it is, it only mutates so much. And so the vaccines that are out right now still have the capability of recognizing them and destroying them.
Awesome. Let me pull up this question. Is that why she says, is that why the Johnson and Johnson is less effective?
Yes, in a way. Yes. Yes. But you know, research has shown that it is somewhat less effective over, you know, as far as attacking the virus. However, it is 100% effective in preventing us from getting super sick and having to go to the hospital and getting to the verge of death. That's what the research has shown, that although it's somewhat less effective on the front end, on the back end, where it's like death is at our doorknob, we won't get there if we have all of the vaccines, including Johnson & Johnson.
Here's another one. It says, I'm sorry, this vaccine has not been approved, so why is it okay to take it? Let me make a statement right here. This is a good disclaimer. Dr. McDowell, nor am I, or the Word Church, telling you to take the vaccine. We are providing you information. I want to make sure we make sure that clear. We're not telling you to take it, and we're not telling you not to take it. We want to educate you so you can make your own decision. Okay, so hallelujah, praise the Lord. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. We're not telling you to take it, and we're not telling you not to take it. We're providing you education. Yes. That way you can make an educated decision whether you want to take it or not. So I want to make that clear. So we're not telling nobody to take it. Hallelujah. You know, and that's one thing I do effective in my preaching or pastoring. I never tell people what to do. I give them the education. Do what you want to do with it.
Yes.
Yes. Let me see. I saw another question by Chris Granville. Says, so why take the vaccine if we don't know how effective they are? But I think we do know how effective they are.
Yes.
Can you talk to that?
Yes, they do know how effective they are. They have, you know, even though these vaccines seem to have been produced very rapidly, especially for the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine. That vaccine had been, not this particular vaccine, but vaccines very similar to that, vaccines that use mRNA as the mode of action, have been studied for 15 to 20 years. And the scientist who started and developed this way of creating vaccines was just up the road in Philadelphia. And she actually was persecuted and kicked out of schools because people didn't believe in her work. And look at her now. Her work is showing to prove something, provide an excellent vaccine. But she created other vaccines prior to this with mRNA as the mode of transmission. So it's not that it hasn't been around. It has been around. mRNA vaccines have been around. They haven't been as widely used as vaccines that use attenuated viruses. But this research is definitely been in the works for a while and highly studied. And the FDA, trust me, I worked at the FDA for a while, and they will not let anything, even though, you know, it was under the Trump administration, the scientists there still have their ethics, right? And they will not allow something to be given to the American public if it is not safe and effective. Because one thing, they do make these companies do their research and do those clinical trials and show the data. You know, they have to show the data that these things are effective before they will allow them. That's why the AstraZeneca one hasn't reached the U.S. yet, because they haven't been able to show the data that it is, you know, 100% effective and won't cause major side effects.
Wonderful. I am enjoying this conversation. There's some chatter going on in the room about the approval. It says the vaccine has emergency authorization. None of them are FDA approved. Can you speak to that at all?
Well, the FDA did provide the emergency authorization. That's who gives it. And what emergency authorization means is, it, in the past, before coronavirus, um, um, it would take a to get an emergency authorization. But because of the urgency that existed with coronavirus, they went ahead and created panels and scientists to review the data from each company, to review the data from the clinical trials, to review the data from the companies that were making the drugs, and so they went ahead and approved them in an emergency fashion because of the urgency that the world needed. But they were approved by the FDA.
Perfect. Let me go to the some of the prepared questions. If you have been vaccinated, how likely are you to give someone else the coronavirus?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one thing to remember, just because you're vaccinated does not mean you cannot be infected. Okay. The virus, coronavirus, is a respiratory virus. It enters the T zone, right? Our eyes, nose, mouth. And so, because those things are still open, a virus can still enter. Now, because we're vaccinated, our bodies will respond much, much quicker than if we are not vaccinated, right? It will make antibodies much faster and get rid of it. But there is still a time in which that virus will be in your body. And so, because it's in your body and multiplying, you still can transmit that virus to someone else. Now, because you're vaccinated, it will not stay in your body as long, because your body will create the antibodies, elicit an immune response, and get rid of the virus. But you still can transmit the virus if you are infected.
So that's why it's important for us that are vaccinated to continue to wear our masks and stuff because we can still spread it to
Exactly.
our loved ones. It's not like once
Exactly.
it comes in, it kills the whole thing. We can still,
Exactly.
we may not
Exactly.
get sick, but we'll
Right.
still be able to be spreaders. Okay,
Right.
awesome.
And if you do get vaccinated and you do happen to become infected with coronavirus, the most you will feel like you have a cold, right? That's the most likely the extent of the illness that you will exhibit is something like you have a cold. You might have the sniffles, maybe your body might feel a little fatigued for maybe a week or so, but that's okay. Why? Because your body is working. Your immune system is working. Your antibodies are being produced, and they are getting rid of the virus. So that's one thing to know.
Awesome. Awesome. Let me look here. It says, how can two people, same gender, both are sisters, same ethnicity, have a completely different reaction to the second vaccine? One had no adverse reaction, while the other had all of the effects of the vaccine: chills, dizziness, headaches, unable to stand up.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, it sucks, but it's very simple. We are all very distinct individuals. Why? Because we all contain different DNA. And so that's what makes us different. Even though they're siblings, they do share some of the same DNA, but it is not exact. And so, because those sisters have different DNA, then that means their bodies are different, therefore will react different to different drugs and vaccines.
Yeah, because
And
they.
and it also could be that one may have some underlying health issues that they are unaware of that could have caused that, or maybe had another pathogen in their body that um, caused an illicit response. But it's basically because we're all unique individuals, and our uniqueness comes from our DNA.
Perfect. Let me take one more question, and then I'm going to take a little bit of a commercial break. Of the three, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson and Johnson, which of the vaccines are highly recommended injections for COVID-19? So I guess the question is really asking which is one better than the other.
Yeah, yeah. Well, at this point, they're all about the same, right? They all provide the protection that you need. They all uh, allow your body to create antibodies against the coronavirus. And so I would say that they are all equally effective. And because when you look at the bottom line of preventing death and severe illness, they all do that. And that's what we all want, right? We all want to be protected from severe illness and the possibility of death. And they all do that. So I would say that they all are about the same in their effectiveness.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us. We have a little bit over 30 people through our platforms, and more people will replay. Please share this broadcast. I want to go over with you all one more time for those that are joining us for the first time. This is Dr. Kristy McDowell. She has an earned doctorate. She did not get it offline. She got it by in the classroom learning. She didn't get her Facebook. She don't have a Facebook degree like some of you all are listening to people who all of a sudden know everything about the coronavirus and haven't stepped foot on a campus to learn nothing. So we want to get our information from somebody who has studied infectious diseases and immunology, and that is Dr. Kristy McDowell. She is with the Baby Scientist, and I want you to go ahead, those of you that can, if you're enjoying this discussion, go ahead and Cash App Baby Scientist or Venmo Baby Scientist. Send a donation to that organization. It's a non-profit organization, so your donation is going to be going to help the less to get into STEM camps and stuff like that and learn science, technology, engineering, and math. So why don't you go ahead and do that Cash App while we are going to our fourth question that I have on my sheet, and I'm going to go back to some of you all that are on this line. Once given the second vaccine, I think you answered this, but I think it's good to repeat it because I know sometimes we don't hear well. Once given the second vaccine, how long will the vaccine remain in the body to defend future onsets of the coronavirus 19 or SARS?
Oh, wow. COVID-19 and SARS. Yes. Coronavirus is a cousin of SARS. And which is just respiratory viruses. But that research is still ongoing, right? So the scientists at the National Institutes of Health, scientists at Johns Hopkins, and other scientists all across the United States who are studying the coronavirus at this time are still working on that to figure that out. But, I can say most likely with some confidence that most likely, just as all vaccines, they just like the flu vaccine, it's definitely going to stay in your body for at least a year. I can imagine that you will have some type of protection. It might not be the highest level that you have the first 3, 4, 5 months, but 10, 11, 12 months down the line, you will still most likely have some antibodies that can combat the coronavirus, because our bodies have cells in our that are called memory cells. And these memory cells, they keep a memory of antibodies of all the pathogens that you come in contact with. And they store them up like a closet, and when they see that pathogen, they go in there and pull that thing on out and be like, hey, I got you. Right. So you will have some protection for, I would say, at least a year.
Yeah. And I think it's very important because I've taken Biology 101 and Biology 102 with Dr. McDowell. It helps to understand these things when you understand the interworkings of the proteins and the binding and stuff like that. I really did know that I picked up all of that in your class until you're talking now and stuff is starting to come back and merge and
Good, good.
get the information. I was struggling in the class, but praise the Lord, it's coming back to me. I'm able to understand it, Jesus.
Good.
So there's another question. This is a deep one. It says, I don't know, I haven't heard about this, but there are 4 main types of COVID-19 vaccines in the clinical trials of 19. Whole virus protein subunit, viral vector, and acid mRNA and DNA. Do you have any knowledge about this?
Well, actually, I have not read up on those clinical trials, so I can speak generically to them. So the virus and the vector, that's what they refer to, or they call the DNA that is used and modified to create the attenuated virus, right? And so a vector is like it's a vector DNA is a circular piece of DNA that is utilized and modified to do different things. And so that is probably what was used. And like I said, Johnson and Johnson used an attenuated virus, a dead virus, to make their vaccine, which is what most flu vaccines are made from. And the Moderna and Pfizer, it's not called acid mRNA, it's called mRNA. And RNA is a nucleic acid. It is made up of nucleic acids. That's why it's called ribonucleic acid. But that's what the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines are created with.
Awesome. Now we're going to get into a subject that a lot of people want to know about, and that is their children. What do we know about children getting the vaccine? One parent wanted to know, I think her child's around 16. So maybe you can speak generally, or maybe you can zero in on 16. However you want to do that, that's fine. But people are wondering, what should they do as it relates to the vaccine, as it relates to their children? When is it going to be available? How's it being has it been clinically trialed? Anything you have to say on that?
Yeah, I can't speak specifically to that because I don't know, so I don't have to speak on something I don't know. However, I have seen in the news that they are administering vaccines to teenagers 16 years old and younger. There has been some research done, I have heard, that shows that the vaccine is okay in younger children. And so I just from the history of vaccines and vaccinating children, I would say that it's most likely safe, but I say that with a but, more research still needs to be done to ensure that it's safe. But if the adults have been getting them and they're okay, then most likely they are okay for children.
Awesome. Let's see what this next prior to administering the COVID-19 vaccine, should one take an antiseptic? Is I'm saying it right? Or ibuprofen or aspirin?
Ibuprofen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. An NSAID or ibuprofen. That's a personal choice. It just depends on how you deal with pain. I haven't gotten the vaccine yet, but I am going to get it. I actually just made my appointment today. But I have heard that some people feel soreness in the arm, afterwards. And then I heard that some people do not. And so if you want to try to avoid or minimize that soreness, then maybe, take a Tylenol or an Advil or something of that nature. But I don't think it's really necessary. I don't think it's necessary. My mother, who's 79, she received her shot last week and it had no side effects. But my cousin, who's 22, had side effects. Go figure, right? I told Mama she's been the Iron Man at 79. But different people react different ways.
So taking this ibuprofen, aspirin, Tylenol is, if you're going to react, is you're going to react. It's not going to lessen that.
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it may help you to not be a little sore on your arm, but
Right.
nothing. Okay,
But that's about it. Yeah.
perfect. Okay, this question was asked, and I'm going to answer it. It said, "Can the
Okay.
church be the site to give the shot or shots to members?" If you're talking about the word church, the answer is no, and the reason is our church is small. So we would want to have a bigger facility, and nobody works at the church 24 hours. We don't have any full-time employees there. You would need full-time employees there to help with the not giving the vaccine, but nurses and stuff will be coming in. We would need somebody on site. We have nobody on site because y'all not tithing like you're supposed to. So until you tithe, that's when we'll get a vaccine site. I'm just playing. I'm just messing with y'all, but no, our church is too small. We don't have any full-time employees, and the saints don't tithe, so no, we will not be a site. But I'm going to give you some information at the end of this, where there are two sites that have been opened up, and I'll give you those sites, and we can go, and you can go to those if you so choose to go to those. Let's see. If I'm vaccinated, I think you went over this, but it's okay. If I'm vaccinated, can I still get COVID? And can I still transmit COVID? And the answer is yes,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Because what did you say? The T frame? Is that what did you
The
say?
T, yes, it's a T where T zone where
T.
the virus can enter your eyes, nose, and mouth.
So that's something new to me. The virus can come through your eyes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And so that's why, if you're in a area with a lot of people, wearing a shield, because I know I've flown since during this pandemic, and I wear two masks and a face shield, and the face shield has the foam up top over your head so that it blocks anything that falls down into your eyes. And so that's something that I would recommend people wear if they're in an area they feel like it's a lot of people.
Here's a good question. If you've had COVID and recovered, do you still need to take the vaccine?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. So theoretically, your body has already created antibodies against coronavirus because you've had it. And I would say yes, take the vaccine in addition to, because it will give you that additional boost of protection, even more antibodies. And because some of the variants have come out and the vaccines can address some of the variants, then that will give you extra protection against coronavirus and the variants.
Right. So I want you to repeat that, Dr. McDowell, because I want people to get into the mind that we're not just dealing with one virus. We're dealing with now multiple replications or mutations of the virus.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so say it one more time for the
Yes.
people in the back.
So even though you may have had coronavirus and survived, and thank God you survived, your body has produced antibodies, and those memory cells are storing those antibodies. However, the vaccine will give you additional protection against the coronavirus and its variants. And so it will be a boost to yourself, your immune system, and give you even more protection from getting sick and from the coronavirus. So I highly recommend that even though you've had it, still get that vaccine, because you can never be too safe.
Awesome. Let me go to the gallery. And it says, can you take the vaccine if you take B12 injections?
I believe so. Those are two different modes of action. And B12 is a vitamin that works in a lot of different ways. And a lot of people think of them as working to give you energy. And the reason, and that is true. And B12 helps to increase your metabolism and help to create energy, to provide energy for your body. So yes, those are two different modes of action. in the way that a B12 vitamin will work in your body and a vaccine would work. Two different modes of action. It's a process called cellular respiration. You can look it up. And
Cellular respiration. Come on here.
yeah.
I remember. That was one of
Yes.
the hard. That was one of the hard units. I had to
Yes.
pray. I had to pray through that. The Holy Ghost had to give me the answers to that.
Yeah, it is. It is one of the harder ones, but I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Oh
It's
my
one of my
God!
favorites.
When you went over that cellular respiration, I said, "Jesus, you're gonna have to help me. You're gonna have to step in the room." Another question: does it alter our DNA? The vaccine?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. It does not alter our DNA. Um, it it elicits an immune response. An immune response comes from your white blood cells, in particular B cells. B cells are involved. There's several other immune cells that are involved, but B cells are the cells that produce antibodies in our bodies, and so it has nothing that it will not get in there and alter your DNA at all. No.
I'm gonna take one more question
Your
from the
DNA is
guy.
protected.
One more question from the gallery, but I think you've already answered it. But we'll take it anyway. Why does the second dose tend to affect people differently than the first dose? No, you didn't answer that. Why does the second dose tend to affect people differently than the first dose?
Oh yeah. That's a good question. I would imagine that this occurs because um, your body is really ramping up to create these antibodies. And so that is when your body is feeling the fatigue and the listlessness, and feeling like you have the flu or something like that. So the first round, it it's a very low level of pathogen, or but once you get the second one, it's more. It provides more pathogen in the body. Well, fake pathogen, right, into the body, and the body is like, oh man, let's ramp up and create these antibodies against this pathogen. And so it's just kind of a grade step. You get a little, and then when you get a little more, it's like, woo, all right, let's go. We're off to the races. So it's just kind of a grade step level type thing. And so because you've gotten more, then the body will react more. Right. I guess that's a good. The body will react more.
I know that I know the Saints don't drink, but y'all remember when y'all take that first shot, you got to take another one. That second shot you took, it just took you over. Huh?
Right.
These people, my church knows I'm crazy. They know I'll say anything that comes to mind. That's a problem with me. Are the vaccines safe for those with allergies, peanuts, shellfish, etc.?
That's a good question. And I believe so. I have not read anything that says people with those type of allergies will have adverse reactions other than the normal reactions. So I would say that it is safe for people who have those reactions. Those allergies.
So I have had the vaccine. Again, I'm not telling anybody to take it or not to take it, but they have a nice system at where we took it at Loudoun County. Is you take the vaccine and then you go into another room, socially distanced, and they sit and they watch you for about 15 or 20 minutes to see if there's any reactions. They have medical staff on site just in case something happens. Again, I want to reiterate something that Dr. McDowell just said. She's saying that peanut and shellfish is not she doesn't think it's going to be because of that, but you may have a reaction just because you just may have a reaction to vaccines,
right,
not because you have a peanut or a shellfish allergy.
Right.
I hope I said that correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes.
Dr. McDowell.
No, that's correct. And see, the other thing is that these vaccines, they have different ingredients in them, right? And so your body may react to some of the ingredients in the vaccine, itself. So it's just like any drug. And so you have to, be careful. And that is a standard thing that occurs after vaccination, is that they watch you for 15 minutes to make sure that you don't have that immediate allergic reaction, because it is in with those 15 minutes that you would get that. But yeah, and so that's why some people have a reaction and some people don't, possibly because of the proprietary ingredients that are within the vaccine itself.
Right. Next question from the gallery. Please dispel the spike protein myth and difference in people of color and the efficacy of the vaccine. Is it true or not? Of you all have okay. Do you understand that question? Because I may not know the terminology.
I have not. Is it true or not? Of you all have the time. Okay, so I have not heard about a spike protein myth, right? However, I will speak about the spike protein. And the spike protein is the outer coat of the virus. So like we have skin, the spike coat that surrounds the virus is like its skin, and it is made up of protein. And the mRNA in the vaccine sends a message to create a protein, that spike protein that's on the virus. And so that's why when our bodies see that protein, it makes an antibody against it. And then when the body comes in contact with the coronavirus, it recognizes that spike protein and then binds to it, and then the body gets rid of it. So I'm not sure about a myth, but the spike proteins are real. They exist, and it does not speak to the efficacy of the vaccines, right? So um, it's just the vaccines are the vaccines, right? They are efficacious because they make proteins that elicit an immune response that will then allow our bodies to get rid of the coronavirus.
So she came
So,
back to clarify her question. She said,
okay.
I've heard people of color have a stronger response.
Oh, to coronavirus or to the vaccine?
Okay, so I'm going to let her. Tiffany, if you could go ahead and let us know if that's to the coronavirus or the vaccine, and then I'll come back to your question. Here's another question from a pre-written question. The vaccine was developed in record time,
Mhm.
and against other vaccines that we had. How are we sure that it's safe?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you pray.
What I've been doing.
Yeah, you pray to the Heavenly Father that this vaccine is safe,
Yes.
and that the scientists knew what they were doing when they created it, and that it's okay. But no, as a scientist, I can speak on behalf of scientists, in that you know scientists are not rich, and they do the work because they love it, and they have a desire to help um, uh, progress medicine and improve the healthcare and therapeutics for diseases in our world. And you know, um, we take an oath as scientists. We take an oath as well, just as MDs take an oath, that we will uphold the highest standard of ethics. And when we are doing our research at that bench day in and day out, 40, 50, 60-hour weeks at the bench, we are really trying to solve problems and to create drugs, vaccines, therapeutics that will help mankind. That is our sole purpose, is to help, our fellow man. And now I'm not saying that every person is ethical, because they're not, right? But the majority of the scientists whom I've worked with in my time as a research scientist upholds those ethics. And when you are doing the research, you are doing it to make sure that this will help someone and will help, the world improve in helping diseases and other things of that nature. So and like I mentioned earlier, the scientist, one of the scientists behind the Pfizer, uh the Pfizer or the Moderna? Yeah, the Pfizer vaccine. She started working on using mRNA as a for vaccines back in the 90s.
And this is
And
a black
so
this is a
she's
black lady, right?
no, she's actually Polish or
Okay.
something. Yeah, yeah, she's from a foreign country, and that's common in the sciences. That's why I have baby scientists to get more of us in there. But anyway, I digress. Okay, so um, but she was very sincere, and she was um, adamant that the work that she was doing was legitimate and it could help, create vaccines at a faster pace than what we were already doing. But because she's a woman, because of sexism and all of that stuff, people didn't want to hear what she had to say, and they disregarded her and her work. And but she kept at it, and as a female in the sciences, I have come across that same discrimination of people not believing your work. And it's very disheartening. It's very disheartening because you are true to yourself, you're true to the game, and you're pouring your heart, your soul into your research. And then someone tells you, nah, that can't be. That's not legitimate. That's not true. But this person, this scientist behind this mRNA vaccine, she worked her life's work. She put her life's work into this. And so even though it looked to the public like it miraculously appeared, it did not. This was tens of years in the making, right? And she has made other mRNA vaccines to other viruses that we don't know about, right? And so when coronavirus came about, she just applied her knowledge and research along with a bigger company. They all worked together to create this vaccine. So I would say that it's trustworthy. I don't know the lady, okay? So I've just read a lot about her and her work, and but I could definitely identify with her struggle as a scientist, and as a female scientist. But I would say that it's safe and effective for us. And I don't think that these vaccines are targeting the Black community, because shucks, I just saw a some statistics last week that really ticked me off. It said that 60% of white people have been vaccinated and only like 7% of Black people. So looking at those numbers, it's like, it's a major disparity. So I don't think they're trying to attack Black people. And I think it's definitely safe for Black people to take. And I say, do get the vaccine. Don't allow yourself to stand in the wind and question it. And then it's too late when you do get it. You don't want to take that chance. And but I understand that, most of the people in medicine, doctors, nurses, majority are white, right? And so you would expect that they were the first ones to get it, and their numbers would be higher. But I would not expect to see a discrepancy of 60% versus 7%, Black versus white of people getting the vaccine. So that was disheartening. And so I say, Black people, get out there, get your appointments, call your local health department, and see when you can make an appointment to go get the vaccine, because this is about our health.
Yeah, and let me talk about that, because I want you to go over it one more time, because this is powerful what you just said about, we said the vaccine was made in record time, but our ignorance of science and research doesn't give us the information that there's been a woman who has been working on this technology for years.
Right.
So that is
Right.
a very powerful point that you made about. So we're not it's not as it's probably on par with the other vaccines, because she's been working on it for this long, and now we
Exactly.
needed it. It's come to pass, and the work has already been done. So that
That's
was
right.
a great thing. Also, let's just kind of talk a little bit about, I hear, Lord help me to tame my tongue. We hear people talking about the Tuskegee Airmen and all of that when
Yeah.
they were getting vaccinated. We're living in a different time. Back in that time, we didn't have FDA. We didn't have say it again, ethics,
Yeah.
agreements and stuff like that. You didn't have
Right.
all of that type of stuff. You didn't have
Right.
the different organizations looking over different research.
Right.
You had
Right.
something else going on. So we're living in a different time. I'm not saying that there's not people out there trying to do bad stuff, but I don't think
Right.
it's in this arena. So if you have anything else to say
Right.
about that, or you can just let me rant about
Right.
it.
I agree. I understand. And I've read up a lot about the Tuskegee experiment, which was absolutely horrific. And so, but that was a time when things were not as regulated as they
Yeah.
are now. And I think that was before civil rights. Am I right?
Yeah.
So they looked at Black folks as less than human. We didn't have any rights, and they could do whatever they want to do with us. Well, we got rights today, and we
Yeah.
have a voice.
Yeah.
And we can we can use that voice in any capacity in which we choose and in which we please. However, I would not allow the fear of that Tuskegee experiment that happened so long ago to spill over into today and this vaccine that is being given, because this is not an experiment that is going on. This is a worldwide pandemic of a virus that has spread without anyone's control, out of anyone's control. No, so it's not something that has been targeted towards the Black community or people of color. And so this vaccine is something that's for everyone. And as I said, I know of lots of people who are jumping over mountains to get it, white and Black, but primarily white folks. I know, I've heard a lot of stories about people jumping over mountains to get it, but so don't allow your fear to prevent you from getting the help and the protection that you need, right? Because I want everyone to be healthy and I want everyone to be safe. And yes, those practices were horrific, but I've been in a lot of scientific arenas. I've studied at the National Institutes of Health. I've studied at the National Cancer Institute. I've studied at the Food and Drug Administration. And I have never seen any of those backhanded, underhanded, racist type of studies going on. And I don't believe that they exist today. And I don't believe that they would make a drug or a vaccine that would particularly target Black people in a negative way. And the thing is that this vaccine is everyone's getting it, right? So that right there should tell you that there isn't that we aren't a targeted group of people that they're trying to pass along some ill will.
Awesome. So, how? Let me try to frame this question. How do we know that this vaccine won't spur other diseases? Let's say cancer.
Yeah.
But it could be anything. Rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
Do we know, or what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I had a student ask a similar question like that just the other day. They were like, what's the difference between cancer and like HIV, right? And and so what's the difference between cancer and coronavirus, or can coronavirus cause cancer? Well, cancers are caused by mutations within our DNA that come about from exposure to UV, exposure to radiation, and exposure to toxic chemicals, low levels of toxic chemicals over a long period of time, which can affect your DNA, right? And so Those are some of the modes of action in which cause cancer. Now, HIV and coronavirus, those are caused by viruses. And so a virus is a pathogen that exists within the world, and it enters your body and does damage. But cancer is something at the DNA level, right? And so your DNA has to be mutated in some form or fashion by some outside source that can cause damage. And so so but I can't. I mean, I can speak confidently to say that coronavirus won't cause cancer, but I can't say 100% that it won't, because I don't know that. I haven't done that research, and I don't think anybody else has done that research, and it hasn't been around long enough. But coronavirus is in the family of SARS, the SARS virus, and the MRSA virus, right? MERS virus, Middle Eastern Respiratory virus. And those haven't been shown to cause cancer. And so coronavirus is the cousin of them, right? The same family. And so a lot of research has been done on those viruses, and they haven't been shown to cause cancer. So I don't believe that coronavirus will cause cancer.
And you don't believe the vaccine that we're taking will cause it either?
No. Okay. No, I don't believe that either.
Will the vaccine stop the spread? I think you already answered that, but
you know what? The vaccine will stop the spread along with the wearing of masks, right? So this is one thing I haven't said about the viruses. Viruses are very unique. Like I said, they're very intelligent organisms, and they're very unique and different from bacteria, right? Because we know bacteria can cause illnesses and disease and such. But bacteria, they can live outside of the body. They can live on something. They can live in something. They can live in water and outside, and they can grow anywhere. Viruses are different because they can only exist, live, and reproduce in a mammalian cell. We are mammals, right? So they can only live inside of us, inside of our cells. They do not have the capability to reproduce themselves outside of our bodies. Okay. So if a coronavirus fell on my table, I will not be in fear, because it will be dead in milliseconds, because it cannot survive. And so when, in the beginning of coronavirus, it's like, oh, spray down your boxes and your food and things of that nature. Coronaviruses cannot live on those. Viruses cannot live. They need the actual proteins and organisms and the nutrients that our cells provide to recreate themselves. So when a virus enters our body, in the respiratory tract, it binds to the cell, and then it enters the cell, and then it uses our machinery to recreate itself. And then when it's done with that cell, it will burst, it will lyse the cell. And they have the ability to make up to 200 copies of themselves. And so when they lyse that cell, then they go and they spread and they attack more cells. So that's why, a person can get coronavirus, and after 3 or 4 days, they feel okay. But after a week, that virus has multiplied thousands of times. And so you can go from having 200 copies of virus in your body to 200,000 to 2 million within a week, And so that's when that person took a turn for the worse. Yes, it's because that virus was running rampant through their body. They were getting inside those cells. They were making more of themselves, and then they were killing the cells and then spreading throughout the person's body. And so viruses can only live if they're inside of us. So if we have the vaccine that can get rid of the virus when it's in us, then yes, we can get rid of this virus if everyone gets vaccinated, everyone wears masks, and then it can die out. Like Trump said, Trump wasn't 100% wrong. He said, one day will miraculously disappear. He wasn't all wrong. He didn't know what the heck he was talking about. But he can if we're all vaccinated and we have the immune protection to get rid of it. Because we're like, you're not gonna live here anymore, little virus, right? And so, our bodies will get rid of it, and we're gonna chuck them deuces, like get
So,
out,
so my mind is blown right now, right at this particular point. My mind is blown because I must have missed that part in your class in 102. So, are we going a little bit overboard when we're wiping down everything and doing all this? Because how long can the virus live on a surface? So,
yeah.
and then is it being when it's transmitted? It's being transmitted from like me to you. I mean, it has to be like a direct. So, speak a little bit on that.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, viruses cannot live on surfaces. It can live on your chair. It can't live on your doorknob. It can't live on the box of your spaghetti. Okay, it's going to die within milliseconds. It's going to die.
Stop the train. Stop the train. Wait a minute. Hold on. Stop the train. Just stop the train. For that information right there, y'all need to go and put some cash money in Dr. McDowell's. I mean, because we've been on here being crazy. Let me tell you, my church, we just ordered hundreds of dollars of foggers and things just to be safe, just to make sure that, the virus has been in here, we could spray it down. And I mean, I promise you, all that stuff is going back on Monday because we just spent hundreds of dollars. I can't, I'll show you the invoice. So this is just blowing my mind that it can't live outside of the body but a millisecond. And I can't even comprehend a millisecond. I can't even comprehend that.
Yeah.
So let's say if somebody comes in, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly because I rode the short bus when I went to school. So I got to make sure I understand this. When, let's say if you have the coronavirus, you came in my church, it got on, you had it on your hand and it got on the knob. And I come right behind you. That is not what gave me the coronavirus.
No.
Okay.
No.
Stop the train.
No. What will give you coronavirus is you coming behind that person. That person is talking, coughing, sneezing, and the virus is in the air. And then you're breathing and you breathe it on up.
Oh,
that's what you got it.
So it's not on the surfaces that we need to be worried about the air transmission.
Right. That's why the masks are so important.
Yes.
And they say, if you touch something, it'll get on your hands, and that's possible. I mean, but it won't be that infection. You have to come immediately after that person, poop, and then go touch it, and then go to your face, right? But if you don't go to your face immediately, then you're not going to transmit the virus. I didn't, but I'm in a habit of, if I touch a doorknob or at a public place, I'll use hand sanitizer. Absolutely. Just as a precautionary measure, even though I know that I cannot get coronavirus, from touching a knob or a door handle after someone else, but what I am fearful of is being too close to that person, breathing or sneezing or something, and the droplets are still in the air and I walk right in their droplet mist, that is the most hazardous thing ever.
We're about to, my time, they're telling me my time is about to shut down in 16 minutes. So I want to ask a couple more questions. And one, I want to talk about, if you have not, how long can something stay in the air? Let's say if I have it, I've been in that spot, how long is it staying in the air?
It just depends on the density of the air, the moisture in the air, right? Okay. Because water holds water.
Okay.
And because, water has a charge. And so, if you cough or you sneeze or just from talking, the water droplets can stay in the air and they'll eventually fall, right? But if there's a lot of moisture in the air, then it could possibly stay in the air a little longer. And so, so it's hard to say, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, so, maybe 3 minutes.
So at the school that I work at, they bought all of these little machines and they put them in air purifiers. Would you say that is a good idea, or is it necessary?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Most
Okay.
definitely. Yeah. Those air filters with the HEPA filters, those things are excellent because that's what we use in a laboratory, HEPA filters. And so we use those when we're, doing our research and working with different cells and working on different experiments. But yeah, those things are definitely good. And one thing I'll tell you, so the coronavirus, just like our cells, we have DNA, right? That is called our genetic material. That is how we create one another, and our bodies are made, and the proteins and different molecules that exist in our bodies are made from our DNA. Well, the corona has genetic material also. The coronavirus has genetic material. Okay. And they have RNA. Now, don't get confused thinking that the mRNA in the vaccine is the RNA within the coronavirus. It is not. Okay. I'm just letting you know that viruses have a genetic material as well. Okay. And so, early on in this pandemic, they said, oh, there was a ship and there were found traces of, there was lots of coronavirus all over the ship. Well, if the virus was there and the virus died, its genetic material will still be around, but that virus is not infectious. That virus does not exist anymore. Just like at the scene of a crime, what are they looking for? They're looking for cells so that they can extract DNA to see who was there. But it doesn't mean that you're there right then and there, right? Or that you're active. And that's the same thing with coronavirus. And so if it falls on a doorknob or on a table or something, yes, it's going to leave its footprint of its genetic material,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the actual entire virus that is infectious and able to jump on your body and do something.
Wow.
Okay.
I mean, this is amazing. I mean, so much amazing. So amazing. What about with the coronavirus and us knowing about, we have increased our use of sanitizer.
Yeah.
And from your class, I learned that our skin is an organ. So
Yes.
is it a thing of using too much sanitizer?
Well, the body has, I think, like 40 trillion molecules of bacteria on our bodies, and some is good, some is bad, but mostly is good, right? And they say that over usage of hand sanitizer isn't good, but my thought process is you have to be sitting in your house every 2 seconds squirting hand sanitizer, for it to do damage, against your own microbiome. That's what they call it, a microbiome, your own bacteria that you carry on a daily basis. You have to use a lot and darn near drink it in order to destroy your own microbiome. So I don't see any problem with you using hand sanitizer 5, 6, 7 times a day, and then in between washing your hands. I probably use it about 7 times when I'm out at the grocery store, going to different places. If I hand touch a card or touch the doorknob, I'm gonna use a little hand sanitizer. But when I get home, I wash my hands, and all is well. So I wouldn't worry about that. That's being extreme. And so if you're OCD with it, using it like every few seconds, every few minutes, then yeah, it could turn out to be a problem. But for the most part, just using it sporadically throughout the day, just as a precautionary method, there's nothing wrong with that, because our microbiome is strong and the bacteria on our bodies reproduce in milliseconds. So we'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Wow.
Use that hand sanitizer and wash those hands and
Let me tell you something, Dr. McDowell. You have really blessed me. I'm sure you have blessed the people online, because I've been cautious, but I haven't been overly cautious, because I believe in science, but I also believe God's gonna protect me, and I believe doing some things with science. So,
yes.
But I mean, you have really blessed us with this whole, because I mean, tomorrow we're actually going to the church and developing a plan for when we enter, which is going to be about April the 2nd, and how we were going to be sanitizing and stuff. So I think we can kind of back off some stuff, that we were planning on doing.
Most definitely. Because when I came to your church, you guys had big jugs of hand sanitizer around. I think that's good enough.
I promise you, I didn't know what was going on, but when I saw something going over in China, I told them to buy all the sanitizer, put it up in here. We want to be safe. We're going to trust God, but we're going to do what we need to do as well. Hallelujah. Praise Him. Listen, I don't have any more questions. We have 9 minutes to the end. I want to say I appreciate you so much. Those of you that have been blessed by this information, please go hit Dr. McDowell's Cash App. Dr. McDowell, our church will be sending you something for this wonderful information because you have just lowered my anxiety as it relates to this. Good. Let me see what else.
Anything that anybody can donate will be welcome because we're trying to buy more microscopes for our summer camps. So anything that you guys can give.
Awesome. How much does one microscope cost if you're able to share?
$200.
$200. All right. One microscope. I want this broadcast for all of us. Let's buy 5 microscopes and you let me know. You let me know how much you've gotten in the Cash App and we're going to make sure we get to 5 microscopes. $1,000. Okay. We're going to make sure we get to 5 microscopes. So those of you that are donating, please donate. I want this broadcast to donate 5 microscopes, and then the Word Church will figure out how to pick up the end of it. So y'all help us. I'm going to donate personally, and then the church is going to donate. I promise you, Dr. McDowell has blessed us tonight. She has blessed us tonight. So do you have any final closing thoughts that you want to share with us on tonight? We have 8 minutes left, and then the broadcast is just going to shut off.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just want everyone to lower their anxiety, right? Because help is on the way. Yes. And have faith in the vaccines and have faith in your safe practices, right? And it's always the simple stuff that is the best. And the simple stuff right now is wear your mask, wash your hands, and use hand sanitizer, when you touch other stuff or other things or somebody else's hand or something like that. Just be careful and cautious, but, just lower your anxiety and try to, I see the end being near and I'm excited. That's why I'm planning to try to have some camps this summer. And, and so I just want everyone to be safe and do what's best for them and their families.
Awesome.
And yes. And thank you so much for offering to donate. That means a lot. And I really appreciate that. You guys are the best. And I love the Word Church. You guys are a wonderful group. And I advise anybody in the Ashburn area to go out and support you guys because it's a wonderful church. And I truly enjoyed it, truly from the bottom of my heart. Enjoyed the service when I attended. So
God is so good. And let me tell this, we got 6 minutes. God is so good because when I took Biology 101, it so much stressed me out. I took a rest and I didn't take Biology 102 for a little bit of time. And it strategically put me in your class. And, I like the way you taught and, you made it fun and interesting, telling different stories. And we had a good time with that group that we had in that class. Good gracious alive. It was always something going on. So it made it interesting, man. And I know I was, when I'm in class, I just kind of stay to myself, that, and just don't. Yeah. But I had a great time because they used to make it interesting. But it's just so, this is a word for somebody. I don't want to preach tonight, but God will strategically place who needs to be in your life. I had no idea that at that time I would know you, you would know me, and that we were coming into the coronavirus. I would have an expert that I could bring on and help our church to really understand, not get our information from Facebook, not get our information from Wikipedia, but also get our information, because sometimes you'll research such and you don't understand it. You need somebody to explain it. So I'm so glad. So I just want to encourage everybody that God is strategically placing you with who you need to know for a time in the next period. And I'm sure this being being a blessing to you as well. God
Yes,
has it
most
all.
definitely.
He has it all in control. So we only have
I
5 minutes
totally agree.
left. I'm going on my Cash App right now to send you a donation, and just let me know how much we collected on tonight. And those of you that I want you to donate tonight, donate tonight. I want all of my Word Church members, if you can trust God with a seed of $50 tonight, I'm going to give $50. I'm going to tell my wife to get $50 out of her account if she's listening tonight. But if she's not, I'm going to text her. So that's $100 right there. We need $900 more dollars, and the Word Church is going to give some. I mean, so we want to bless this organization. We want to bless Dr. McDowell with 5 microscopes for her children. I wish I had played that video of where you all were doing the little stuff, but maybe next time we'll
Oh
have a
yeah.
follow-up to this conversation. But we are
Okay.
so
Okay.
blessed to have all of you. I'm seeing people. Thank you so much, Carla. I thank you so much. I see that. Matter of fact, Carla, I need to call you. Make sure I have your number in my inbox. I have a question for you. I see Sheila donated. Thank you so much. Pastor Tony Conway asked a question about how effective the vaccine. I just want to let him know, if you go back to about the middle of the video, she answered that question for you. I saw Pastor Laverne. She donated. Thank you so much. We
That's wonderful.
appreciate you. So your Cash App should be
Thank
going
you
on,
guys
and we're
so
gonna
much.
do that
Thank you
tonight.
so much.
We're gonna take care
It
of that
means
tonight.
so much, because I'm just out here trying to educate the babies, and like I said, I have studied at the National Cancer Institute, the National Institutes of Health, the Food and Drug Administration, and there's always a limited number of us there.
Wow.
And I just want to do the work to try to increase those numbers, to get more children of color into the halls of science.
Wow,
And
wonderful.
and so thank you guys so much for your donations. I truly appreciate it. And I'll send you a picture of the microscopes once I purchase them.
Awesome, awesome, wonderful. Yes, please do that, and we'll make sure it's publicized on our website to let everybody know about
Wonderful.
what they did. We always
And thank you for inviting me. Thank you for inviting me.
No. The
Pastor.
pleasure is all ours. The pleasure of you have blessed me. I promise you, I'm so excited right now, because I mean, if you don't have the information, you don't know. You need to get someone who does know. So thank you, Dr. McDowell. I took you over your time today, so we're gonna bless you for that time. Thank you so much. I see Tiffany Granville. The Granville family have donated tonight. Can you send me the information for the STEM camp? We will send that information out by email on our email train, so you can have that. All right. Yeah. I'm going to let you go. God bless you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, wonderful. Take care.
You too.
All right.